It's Project Cargo Professionals live from Breakbulk Americas, and we're here with Guillermina from Siemens Energy. Good to see you.
Hi, nice meeting you.
Can you give us a bit of an introduction to Siemens Energy? Tell us about the company, tell us a bit about your products.
Well, Siemens Energy, as the name says, we are focused on energy, generation, and delivery. So we have different business areas within the company, from the typical gas turbine generator to transformers to transformation of industry, where we're trying to do a more cleaner or hydrogen energy. My portfolio in terms of project logistics, based on what we're seeing in the market today, obviously is on the gas turbine generation and transmission. Our factories are global, so we have different factories across US and Europe. Those will supply globally. So for example, our Charlotte factory, which is focused on generators, 95% of the generators that Siemens Energy sells globally, whether that is a project in Middle East, Europe, or the Americas, will most likely come from our Charlotte factory. The same way, our Berlin factory, who produce the large gas turbines, all of the US projects will ship out of Berlin, the same as Europe and Asia. So we're globally based, and we are diversified in terms of where our factories are.
Yeah.
Which kind of changed from what we were 5 or 6 years ago. We were a little more regional, and we became a little more global in terms of Charlotte will do generators, Berlin will do gas turbines, which it wasn't how it was before.
Okay, and tell us a bit about the US market. There's obviously a huge demand for power generation. How does it look here, and how does that compare with your other regions?
So, I've been doing this for 27 years. Might not look like, but I have. I've never seen what we're seeing today. And, when you look back, prior to COVID, because the boom came after, none of the three big ones, I think, was expecting this, because the boom was for all of us. And that's why I always say, the cake today is big enough for all of us. We are selling projects now for 2030 because we sold everything up to that time. And it's not a Siemens Energy thing, it's a market, right? So we went from a buyer's market to a seller's market. And things will change, and most likely in a couple of years, this might change again. I focus mainly on the Americas region, but I do, I report globally to Germany, so what's happening in the rest of the world. We're a global company again, and I know that the boom the boom that we're seeing is mostly on the US, mainly driven by AI.
Yeah.
Right? So AI is driving this boom not only on
the data centers and
yes.
Yep.
So not only on the new power plants, but we're seeing we call it Renaissance era for the nuclear as well. So these power plants that were supposed to just be out of operations, they're being revamping for another 50 years of life extension.
Right.
In those cases, we're not building new power plants, but we're supplying the equipment, a generator or a rotor or a steam turbine to cope with the life extension of that plant, let's say.
So your logistics team must be growing?
Well, yes, which is, it's a good problem to have. I always rather have challenges than, have to let people go. So we went from 14, 15 to 27 in a year and a half, which I'm very proud of, but it also, it's a lot of work, right? I always say everyone can do logistics, but project logistics is a niche. And when you get into companies like Siemens Energy, it's a whole war on its own, right? So you have to train people on how Siemens Energy does things and how do we do projects. But we have my team is basically in the US and Mexico, so we have a hub in Mexico, executing projects all over, right?
A logistics hub?
Well, no, it's a hub for the entire company.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a pool of people that you can take. So I have 5 people in Mexico, and the rest is all in the US. Some in Orlando, and some are 100% remote, because that's another thing that changed. We would never have remote people 100%. And COVID kind of changed this whole setup. It's like, well, now I'm looking for the expertise and not necessarily where they're seated, right? So, an example, my rail specialist, who's the only one I have, is in Delaware. It's not in Orlando. But the expertise that he has, I'm like, okay, we can work it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so we've done the good stuff. The market's obviously good. You're very busy. What about the hard part? How are you responding to the tariff situation and the US trade policy? How's that affecting your business and your logistics function?
So the funny thing, Luke, is this boom came in the most changing and unstable environment we are, at least in the US, right? Which affects other regions as well. But you're coping with the growth and you're coping with how do we do this now? So we're looking at on tariff, right? So the reality is any company, especially in the field that we are, we're not going from a Walmart to a Publix to buy our things, right? You develop a supplier throughout many years, and you can't just switch from one day to another. So, tariff will have an impact. Can we change sourcing? I don't know. Maybe we can, but it's not really immediate, right? And this is it's changing every day.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, we're kind of going with the flow and see what happens. I think my biggest challenges are in terms of, infrastructure, construction, rates being downgraded, where you have, I told you we sold up to 2030. Well, who knows what's going to happen in 2030? Is that bridge that I was supposed to cross going to be still able to, or the railroad is going to downgrade it and now I have to go somewhere else?
Yeah.
So I think I told you before, and I'm convinced that the skills that we need to have today to do this are not the ones that we had 10 years ago. So in my 27 years, it was very normal what a rate and the transit from China to the US was. Very normal. And now nothing is normal anymore.
Yeah.
So I think resilience and flexibility and risk management, these are the things that I look for now and try to develop in my team.
So there's lots of issues around rail. Tell us a bit about that and the problems that you're having in that area.
And that is another consequence of this boom, right? So we're talking about we don't have enough railroads. We don't have enough rail cars. Mm-hmm. Everyone is looking for those. The railroad companies are now trying to keep up with the moves, but building a rail car takes like a year and a half, depending on how many axles.
Yeah.
Everyone is after that, so we're all like, we talk to our suppliers like, who has that one? Okay, how long do they have it for? We own some rail cars, which is, I think it's an advantage. So we have our own fleet, but the growth demand means that we will need to lease more.
Yeah.
That's one side. The other side is what's going to happen again with the infrastructure, right? Like we were years ago we had options on where to ship to. Bridges got downgraded, so now we don't have those many options.
Yeah.
And as I was talking about risk management, I need to have options.
Yeah.
That's how you reduce the risk. And when the options are less and less, well, you need to be creative. Do we have a bigger rail car? Do we, build, generators or gas turbine that we can disassemble some parts? Is it things that will happen? I usually go to RICA, which is a rail car convention, and try, I think we're all there to try to say, okay, how do we make this work? Yeah. The other reality, Luke, is this is a big equipment when you move it by rail, right? This is not like the typical rail that you go and it's fast. We're going like 20, 30 miles per hour. So we also have blackout dates when it comes to Christmas and Thanksgiving that we can't move cargo during those 3 months.
Yeah.
So I like it because it keeps people, challenged all the time. But I think at one point, the infrastructure, the equipment, something's got to give. And we need to find a middle ground there.
Yeah.
So that's with the rail whole topic.
And the consolidation that's going on with some of the railroads, do you think that's going to make much of a difference or not?
So I will tell you, my rail specialist and we see that differently, which is great, right? Because this is where like, okay, how do you see it? How do I see it? I was a little concerned in terms of, we already have different, routes that are only operated by different railroads.
Yeah.
And now we're going smaller in terms of less companies.
Less choice.
Right. And he saw it differently. He saw, well, maybe now we have two companies. The rates are going to go down because, as you know, the more railroads you have in between, the more your rate goes up. Yeah. So he's like, well, now we might. And I'm like, okay. So we're kind of expecting something to happen. I have my view, he has a different, and we kind of like, we say, okay, well, let's bet on this and see how it plays out. We're going to see that probably in another year or a year and a half and see how that comes out.
And lastly, just tell us a bit about your approach to LSPs and the size of the number of suppliers that you're working with, how to break in, what to do, what not to do.
Okay. Do not stalk me on LinkedIn. And I said that last year, and you said it again, and I remember that. So we don't have a lot. We can control and manage 200 service providers, and the ones that we have, I don't even call them service providers. For me, they're my partners. We're all in together for better, for good and bad.
Yeah.
And the ones that I work with, what I value from them is, and as I'm here in this conference and I'm meeting them, because I use this conference to meet the people that I work with already, because I think, putting that face there and saying, hey, we're still here, we're still in this partnership means more than maybe talking to new people that I will do too.
Yeah.
But picking up the phone when things go wrong, I value that above everything else. Because things will go wrong.
Yeah.
And everything is okay when things go right, and it's easy, right? I need that partnership with, we have a problem, and we have many problems.
Yeah.
Many, and we will continue having those. We obviously look at the price. I mean, obviously it's a factor, but on the project side, it's not the only factor, right? I'm looking at safety, how are you going to move my cargo? Siemens Energy has a very robust and heavy safety process when we're talking about heavy equipment. Our terms and conditions are things that not everyone can accept, and that's also something that I can live with.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always room for new people. So I'm not saying we're never going to develop new ones, but developing a new partner takes us more than a year. And this is something I always tell them, right? Do not expect that we meet and next 2 months you're going to, do a $30 million project, because I'll be crazy.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want that either, right? So when we do develop a new supplier, which we have, we're going slowly, right? Like let's go through that learning curve together. So then it's less risk for you and it's less risk for me. So that is my approach to my partners: is we're on this together. I
And
have
no
to be
stalking.
win-win.
Definitely no stalking.
Yeah.
Guillermina, thanks very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.